Hey all, this is Systemshark bringing you guys another audio commentary for WCReplays.com. This audio commentary copyrighted 2007 WCReplays.com. By the way, get that replay synced up at the 2-minute mark at 1x speed, but definitely stay at your computer because there's a few times when it's really creep heavy, and I think I'm just going to try to speed through it because it's a, I don't know, decently length replay, a little bit long. The reason I did like this replay is because HolyHuman doesn't actually use that many towers at his expansion or at his main base. And in this matchup, it's human versus undead. You know, you generally see that. It's usually mass towers and then steam tanks and something. So HolyHuman plays it kind of by the books, a little bit old school cookie cutter, and a little bit more respect for him for not using so many towers. I know a lot of human players have been falling back and relying on their towers by, you know, today's standards, on saying that's like the only thing they can do versus certain strategies, but you know, HolyHuman proves them wrong. You know, it's definitely against what kind of player you're up against. It's the match, it's where you spawn, it's, you know, item drop, it's, you know, it's micro decisions. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it. So you know, don't think that you have to invest all that economy, you know, all your money in gold and wood into towers to be able to win in this matchup. So this is Turtle Rock. It's HolyHuman versus Eric on Total Rock. I already said that already. So go ahead, and if you're not already there at the 2-minute mark, pause this audio portion of the audio commentary and get there to 2 minutes. And we're going to pause here in 5 seconds. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, unpause. Now normally when I do the audio commentaries, I do take a lot of notes and I try to find points during the replay that I really want to focus on, but this is, again, it's something I just found a few days ago, and you know, I watched the replay a few times, so it might be a little shoutcasty, but there are some cool points that I remember that I'll try to point out to you guys. So if you haven't seen this is actually the third game on a best of 5, I guess, series between HolyHuman and Eric. And I think HolyHuman ends up winning it because I think this is the last game in the series. So this was game 3 of that series. And you notice they did spawn cross map, and in this matchup especially, I think spawning cross map is actually more beneficial for the undead player. The undead player then has a little bit more time to freely tech and get his you know, big tech units if he goes really standard strategies. But you'll notice what he's doing right here, and this is exactly what you want to be doing as an undead player when you're up against human players. You scout them out early, and you go for the starter creep camps. Most human players will end up fast creeping with their militia, the turtle camps right outside the base, just like HolyHuman did, and then going right over to the ogre camp closest to their base to get the item drop and get a fast level 2. And the way you do that is just bring your Death Knight around and coil the way you execute the harass. I mean, is bring your Death Knight around and you coil the low HP militia that have been tanking that fight. Or if you're lucky enough, you can actually get a coil off on the creeps and deny your opponent the experience. That's, you know, the best way of doing it. And if you're really lucky, you can even get the item off that thing. So a little bit of skills, and you can kind of do a little bit of, you know, everything. So far, I believe 4 militia have gone down already to this harass. Actually 3 compared to the looking at the experience on the Death Knight. So you notice he's just going right back to where he knows the corpses are at with his Death Knight, and summoning with a Rod of Necromancy some skeletons, and then he's going to send them back in, and he knows exactly which peasant he wants to continue focusing on. If you hold Alt, you can actually see which peasant is below half life here, 98 hit point peasant right there in his base. He's going to send his skeletons and go directly towards those peasants. Actually, he's not targeting that one. Maybe he doesn't see him yet because of the fog, but he is targeting the one militia there. Oh, there he goes. He does switch. Sorry, I knew I wanted to mention that for a reason. So he ends up killing a lot of militia here, and during this time when the human is teching, if you can kill off enough of, you know, peasants, this is where it really hurts the human. Human is very reliant on their economy, especially those humans that build a lot of towers and things like that. So if you kill off a lot of his peasants while he's teching, he's got a decision to make. Is he going to cancel his tech if he's not that far along on it, or is he just going to have a really bad economy until his tech finishes and he can rebuild more peasants? So that's something to kind of think about. Now, as the human player, this is about the time you want to be hitting the undead. This is actually a little bit earlier would have been even better. If he could get into his base, generally this is where they'll go in and try to do some acolyte harasses a little bit before this. But instead, HolyHuman obviously opting to do some more creeping and deny his opponent some of that those easy camps that are close to his base. Something interesting that you don't see a lot of undead players doing versus human is going fiends, and the reason being is most humans start off with footmen, and footmen do really well versus fiends. So getting that defend upgrade, they can actually tank a lot of that focus fire early on when there's only a few of them, and also they do the normal damage, which does extra versus the medium armor on the crypt fiends. I believe they actually have higher movement speed too, so surrounding them is actually a very real possibility. So that's something that's interesting to see him actually going fiends in this matchup. Generally, you'll see fiends in like a undead versus night elf, or maybe undead versus orc or something like that. But versus human, I definitely see them going more ghouls, just for the move speed, trying to get some early hero kills and things like that. So that works out really well. So HolyHuman's doing a really good job of actually keeping tabs on his opponent and not letting him creep freely. And I mean, you might kind of consider this replay to be one-sided in regards to that, because HolyHuman's kind of been on the offensive this whole game, except for that beginning little bit of harass. But he's doing a good job of, again, just keeping tabs on his opponent and not allowing his opponent to creep freely, which I already said, obviously. So a really cool move that's going to happen right here. We're going to see a nice footman surround here. It looks like he's going to go off for that surround on that fiend. With defend on, however, his footmen are really low movement speed. So instead, he gets this really nice surround off on a Death Knight. And there's no real point for the Death Knight to have stayed around in that any longer and take any more damage. He would have to sit there in his base and regen longer if he would have taken more hits from that Archmage and footman instead of waiting around to cast his town portal. So he did do that early, and that was the good way of doing it. Building a lot of fiends here. So far, I think one fiend has gone down. He's making another one. We'll see later in the game he actually is going to start making even more fiends. So it's a kind of a strange build with that, and I'll go over try to go over what the mindset for him might have been in that, and kind of show how HolyHuman has kind of focused on that and is going to be exploiting that weakness later on into the match. Again, this whole early part of the game, the first 10-15 minutes can be... most games are over in 10-15 minutes, so I'd say probably within the first, 5-6 minutes, try to definitely keep tabs on your opponent. I mean, it's important to creep, but you can creep while allowing your. I mean, it's possible obviously to be creeping and while still keeping tabs on your opponent and not allowing them to creep. Now that's a big thing here. So the Mountain King finally joins the fray for HolyHuman, and we got an Arc Lich. We got the Lich out for the undead player for Eric. And that's, very common cookie cutter basic kind of things to do here. So a bolt surround off on a fiend. This is exactly what you're going to have to expect. HolyHuman puts on defend on his footman, again, to kind of negate some of that piercing damage from those fiends early on. So there's going to be a little bit of hit and run here. It's difficult to run away from an undead player, especially an undead player here now at tier 3 with his Lich out. And it's going to be kind of more difficult for him to, run away. So if you're going to go on the offensive with, an undead player, really go in there and you've got to land some of these early surrounds. You got to get those good bolt surrounds off and make the kills count. So here it's a little bit bad situation for Eric. He's actually was starting to creep this Gargantuan Turtle camp here again. This level 7 Gargantuan Turtle starts attacking his own creeps here. A bolt goes off on this Crypt Fiend, but his Mountain King's actually being chased off by the Death Knight. Here, what I was talking about with that surround, or the shoutcasting going on. So he's going to move his Mountain King around, and this is a really cool move by HolyHuman. He's got enough mana for his bolt, just about 3 more mana to get that bolt, and he got it and kills that.